Welcome back to another video. Today we've got a change of scenery. At the moment I'm without a car, so this is the only mode of transport that I've got, and today is Cambelt day, so I'm travelling 6 miles to the motor factors and 6 miles back to pick up the Cambelt for the Megane. Same bench, different time. Here's our kit. Got a new water pump. I didn't see the point in getting just a belt. Got new bolts, we've got new end caps for our camshaft, so when we lock the camshaft we know that's not going to leak. And we've got a new tensioner, and of course our belt is in there at the bottom. £120 it costs, which is a small price to pay when you compare it to an engine rebuild. So finally I'm back in the Megane, just about to make a start on the Cambelt now. The only thing I haven't got to do this is a flywheel locker, but that's only needed to remove the crankshaft pulley for the auxiliary belt. So it's nothing to do with the timing, it's just to lock it up, because you're not really meant to put any force on this locking pin. So we're going to have to find a way around that, and if something I say in today's video isn't 100% accurate, that's because I've never done one on one of these before. So we've got our kit, we've got our toolkit, and we're almost ready to go. So if we come round to the engine bay, we need to lock our camshafts, we need to get our belt out. So we need to remove this bit of wiring to get access to that blanking plug. We need to remove this inlet ducting and our throttle body to get access to the other blanking plug. And then we can come round this side, start removing the most obvious parts. So with this side of the engine all stripped down, that's all I've removed. I'm going to have to replace that, that'll be the 3rd time now I've had it off without doing it. While I'm on this side of the engine, I might as well get underneath it and drop the coolant. I was going to drain and replenish the system anyway, but looks like I'm doing it in this video. And as we can see, that clip didn't have any life left in it at all, really. Looks like the majority of it's water, so I'm glad I'm refreshing it now. Cooling system's dry for the majority of it. There's going to be still a little bit of water in the system here and there. So I've come round to the driver's side, took the lining out, and even with the proper tool, you still manage to snap some heads off of these bungs, and it happens near enough every time, so it's nothing to worry about. Now we have access to our crankshaft pulley bolt, and we have an access hole for that nut there. So now my next move is figuring out how to access our belt. So it looks like this engine mount acts as a belt cover as well, so that's coming off. But first I'm worrying about how to get this on. Getting it off isn't going to be a problem, I'll just whiz it off with a gun. So I'm kind of glad I haven't got a flywheel locking tool, because you'll have to remove the starter motor to stick it in anyway. And I don't think this is an oil leak, I just think this is what I've missed. So we can see our flywheel there, and we can also see our flywheel here. So I think I'll be able to lock that up with a screwdriver when we install in our crankshaft pulley, but if all else fails I can just whiz it back on again. So first things first, before we undo any engine mounts, I'm going to get our pulley off. So we're going to come down. I wish I had a new auxiliary belt to put on, but I just don't have it at the minute. So got our spanner right down there, and it's on our tensioner. I love these aviation spanners, they've got an offset on one side and a flat side on the other. So you just move the tensioner, and you can see that belt getting slack, and you just fish it out with your other hand. So it does say it's a rental part. I don't know if it's the original belt or not, but it would definitely benefit from a new one. That'll be coming further down the line. I've gone ahead and I've buzzed our pulley off. Our bolt is now back in there, which can still be used to turn the engine over. I've not had to lock the flywheel up or remove the starter motor to insert a locking tool. So our crankshaft pulley has been removed without having to do any of that. The engine is still in time, and I can't see any signs of paint, Tipex, chalk, anything like that where it's had a belt in the past. So if there's no paint up top, I would imagine this is the original belt, which does mean it's over 20,000 mile overdue. Next I've moved on to getting the lower engine mount out. Well, it's not actually a mount, it's just a stabilising bar which goes from the chassis to the gearbox. And in all fairness, that could probably do with being replaced as well. I'd say it's cracked about 25% of the way either side. So I'm going to have to get a pen and paper out to make a list on what needs doing next. So next I'm going to be getting our engine mount / cam cover off. First things first, I'm going to mark it up because I should imagine these holes are ovals, so this can be moved backwards and forwards. So I'm going to mark the holes up and mark around the edge with a little bit of Tipex. Next I'm going to be moving on to getting it actually out. So undo the 3 bolts there and the 3 bolts here. I've swapped my jack round, so I've now got an axle stand on the chassis leg and the jack supporting the sump, and I've got a little bit of wood on there to spread the load. So our engine mount is out, finally. What I had to do was I had to come round here, take the rubber boot off that little plate, and then I had enough leeway to lift this up and then fish it out. One thing I've just noticed is, before I put the engine mount back in, so when I get to this stage reassembling it, this is when I'm going to have to put the auxiliary belt on, just because of the amount of travel in the tensioner. So right now I'm just going to get my timing covered off. I can't really show you much because it is quite a tight space, but I'll be moving the engine up and down on the jack to get our bolts out and remove our aluminium casing. Got the Cambelt cover off. We've got a cast aluminium part and a plastic part. And if we come over here, the belt is starting to crack. So I'd definitely say this is the factory installed belt. So we're nearly ready to get that belt out of here. But first you need to come over to the other side, and you've got these rubber coated steel caps. So you need to find the soft spot in them, which is obviously that bit there. Poke through it and lever it out. So I thought they were going to be dead easy to get out, but they actually weren't. So poke through it. This one might be easier. Don't want to stick it in too far because you want to get in between that layer of metal. So I've gone ahead, peeled that little bit of rubber out just to make it a little bit more accessible. I'm trying to get it on different angles without damaging the camshaft. And out it comes. Now it's time to time the engine up before we go ahead and remove anything else. So we've got access to our camshafts, and now we need access to our crankshaft, which is that E-torque right there, so that's got to come out next. So our pin is in, we're not far from top dead centre now. Just go ahead and turn it over and it should lock up. There we go, that was it. So if I take it back, it's spinning freely apart from the compression of the engine. And our pin is now sat on our crankshaft inside the engine. So, belt's off. Engine's still inside. I'm glad that stayed still, because obviously that means that our diffuser pulley is locked up with the cam. And our belt. Definitely seen better days. Doesn't look like a 25,000 mile belt, does it? It's been on there a lot longer, I think. Happy with this tool, there's nowhere to bolt it to, so it is just balancing in there. But our tool doesn't look like it's moved. So the engine's all stripped down. Our water pump, our tensioner, our idler pulley and our cam belt has all been removed. I've used a Brillo pad on the mating surface on the block where our water pump goes. Removed any grime, and then I've 600'd it. And I'm a bit wary about putting a gasket on it because it had sealant on it, and I've got no sealant. Didn't come with any sealant in the kit, it came with a gasket. So I'm a bit wary on using the gasket, but it's all I've got, unfortunately. There's no tightening torques on auto data or on these instructions for the water pump, so I'm just going to have to go on my own back on that. I'll be using thread lock because I don't think I'll be doing 70,000 mile in this car. I probably would have sold it or written it off by then, so I won't be needing to take them out again. Fingers crossed it doesn't leak. So the gasket is on our 2 locating lugs, and I've just thread locked the stud for the tensioner before the water pump goes on. Water pump is now fully assembled. Nipped them all up, give it 10 minutes, let the gasket compress, went back and nipped them all up again, and I think that was the right idea. I've replaced one of our clips on our radiator hoses with just a Jubilee clip, and I've put 1.25 litres in of this stuff. I use this on everything that takes the red coolant. So put 1.25 litres in, it's not going to be a 50-50 mix because I don't think this radiator's got much life left in it anyway. So there's no point in wasting all my coolant. So put 1.25 litres in. I'm going to top the rest up with just water, and I'm going to do that now, so while I'm jacking up and down the engine, that can bubble away. So I've just removed the bleed plug. I now know that there's water in the block and our water pump isn't going to be running dry for the initial startup, and it's had about 5 litres of water to get to this point. So this is our old idler pulley, this is our new one. You get a new bolt, and I'm guessing that goes there. Same diameter as that one. And the idler, we're going to tighten that up to 45 Newton meters. Our idler is on there. Lovely job. Right now we're going to be putting our tensioner on. So this is the new one. That tab needs to go in, that cut out underneath the stud. So when it's in situ, it should sit like that, facing upwards. Next, I'm going to check that the crankshaft's still locked, even though I've put a mark on it there. Just going to put my ratchet on there. It's still stationary, the lines are still there, so I'm going to go ahead and say that one's safe. And then up top, I'm not too happy with this tool, there's nowhere to bolt it to, so it is just balancing in there. But our tool doesn't look like it's moved. So here's the tricky part, it's time to get the belt on. Just going to send it down to the bottom. And then I'm going to route it right to left. So we're going to get it past all the studs. So I've got it round the crank. Then I'm going to come straight up round our water pump. And then it's going to run along the back of the idler and up to the cam. So I'm going to chase the belt now from the bottom to the top, get the slack out of it and mark it up. There weren't as much leeway as I thought I was going to have here. It turned out to be quite a nightmare. As I said just then, wrap it round anti-clockwise, right to left. So I put our crank on, followed it up and then chased it round, and I was having trouble getting it over the tensioner. So what I done was, cable tied the belt to the pulley, wedged some cardboard underneath our crankshaft so the belt cannot move down there. Same again on both pulleys. Timing tool is still in, but where the valves are forcing the camshafts back, you know, there's a little bit of wiggle room in the cams, and I'm only talking about a couple of degrees because it was still locked into our tool. So I had to fight with the free play in the cams, and then I had to pull the slack out of the belt, chase it round, and then I ended up having to get another set of hands to help me do that. So where we are at the minute, we've got this bolt partially tensioned, and now we're going to move our cam until it's in line with that cut out there. So I've tightened our tensioner up, and as we can see, the one that we have to line up is with the back end of the one that's stationary. It doesn't go in the middle, it goes at the very end, so that's where I've put it. And then I've torqued the nut up to 27 newtons. I've removed the cardboard I had jammed down there. I've snipped the cable ties off, and I've marked where our pulley lines up with our belt. Same again with our crankshaft. That's been tip-exed as well. So let's get this pin out. And let's get our cam alignment tool out and turn it over. So I've passed our 2 tip-ex marks on the top. So obviously that one is the one for the crank. I'm going to insert our locking pin now. So that's now locked on our pin. Our tip-ex lines line up. That one doesn't, but I'll explain why that is in a minute. Our timing tool should go in nice and easy. Line it up that side, and that's as good as you're getting. So our camshafts are lined up on both ends. I've just gone ahead and thrown this in just while I explain what's happening with the timing marks, and I've just found it out myself. So I've done a revolution, and every time I've done a revolution the mark got further out, and after a little bit of looking into, it's so that the same tooth doesn't land on the same tooth on the pulley every rotation. And the technical term for that, is which I've just found out as well, is hunting geometry. So next, I'm going to get all the timing equipment off it, and I think the first things to do is put our end caps in. So I applied a little bit of oil around the rim of the covers. The little one I was able to push in, the bigger one I had to get a socket on there and tap it in. So now coming round to the driver's side, I've got our plastic trim on, I just need to tighten a few bolts up. And I think the next step is get the bottom pulley on and then do the auxiliary belt. Crankshaft pulley is tightened up to 40 Newton meters. I've got to go ahead and put the angle torque on it, but that'll do for now. The belt is on. That went on quite easy really. So our engine mount is now on. There's not much really to go back on. The stabiliser bar I haven't attached yet. So I think I should test it, see if everything's working before I go any further. Fingers crossed I've done it right. If I haven't, worst case scenario really. near enough finished here. After me turning it over, I just went ahead, undone this bleed cap until there's no more air coming out. Put our throttle assembly back together. I've not put my washing neck back in yet because there's all sorts of debris sat down in the bottom of the bottle. So I'm going to go ahead and wash that out. There's no need to film that really. So final thing to do is tighten our crankshaft pulley. I've managed to lock the flywheel with a screwdriver in that gap. So we've done the 40 Newton meters. I've gone ahead and I've tightened it 145 degrees. Now it's time to reset this. And I've got to do an additional 15 degrees now. So that's it, job done. I've just got to see if I can get any more air out the system now. So I'll start it up and we should get a little bit of bubbling once the car reaches running temperature. So that's going to bring us to the end of the video. The Megane is up and running. Smooth as a nut, still going. So hopefully this video has been helpful to someone. Saved you a little bit of money, gained a little bit of knowledge, and hopefully it's been entertaining. So if you liked the video, go ahead and leave a like, make sure you comment, and don't forget to subscribe to catch me in the next one. Thanks for watching.